Welcome to the cheating channel. Goddamn it, Peg. I muttered under my breath. Why? I admit that I saw this coming from a mile away and thought I knew the answer, but actually witnessing it was a completely different matter. Honestly, it hurt like hell. And she was gonna cheat with that bastard? Seriously? What the hell did he have that I didn't? Besides being younger than me, handsome, rich, athletic, famous, social, and supposedly very well endowed, he really had nothing else to offer. At that moment, I told my inner monologue to shut up. The point is Peggy and I were married, and that implies certain vows. If she wanted to cheat with other guys, she should have asked for a divorce or an open marriage or something like that. Enough. In my book, there's no justification for cheating. That's why I was boiling with righteous anger as I watched her slip out through the side door in the company of a tall, muscular copyright violator. Yes, I knew that guy. Even with his face hidden behind a fake beard, you couldn't mistake that Hulk-like frame. Randy the Stallion Mueller. No doubt about it. He needed to dress like a damn Mack truck to actually hide his muscular physique. Peggy's outfit, in the style of Catwoman, was even less subtle, especially since she chose the raunchy version of Halle Berry. In my opinion, the least sexy portrayal of the famous supervillain, but her arms were more exposed than anything else. It was little more than leather pants, a bra, and cat ears. Meow. Before closing the door behind him, Randy Blackbeard quickly scanned the area to make sure no one had noticed their exit. Apparently, he was satisfied that they had managed to slip away unnoticed. Of course, he was wrong, but you could hardly blame him. After all, he was looking out for Ben Buford, not a deadly ninja dressed in all black. Besides, Peggy had probably told him that her loving husband was away on a business trip this Halloween. Obviously, she was wrong too. As soon as the door closed, I sprang into action and followed the despicable pair. Except that the damn door was locked. Damn it, they were getting away. My sinister ninja skills were thwarted by a $20 lock. How embarrassing was that? Well, if you can't go through, you have to go around, so I started making my way through the building to the front door. This was easier said than done, as the main area was crowded with happy, drunk people in bright Monster Mash costumes. I had barely made it halfway across the room when my progress was halted by something red, green, and reeking like an exploded brewery that grabbed and hugged me. Who are you and why aren't we making love? Slurred a drunk Poison Ivy, whose secret identity was the local real estate agent Marge Alling. Not just no, but hell no. I am the embodiment of death. And besides, I'm married. I growled in my best Christian Bale voice and broke free from her embrace. Ben? She exclaimed in surprise. Ben Beaufort? But Peg is here with... Oh crap. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. I wasn't here, Marge, I said, looking her directly in the eyes with my most intense ninja stare. You didn't see me. Please. Well, of course. Okay, whatever you say. But Ben? Yes? Franny doesn't kill you or hurt you too badly. Do you want to, hang out later? I'm not wearing any panties under this. I quickly turned and once again melted into the crowd like a shadow warrior. No, I didn't run. Ninjas are utterly fearless and never run. They simply move swiftly in the right direction. No, really. When I finally made it through the crowd to the parking lot, I realized that even the deadly power of a warrior wasn't enough. The birds had flown the coop. The empty space where Randy's car had been looked like a big neon sign saying, "Damn it." All I could do was stare into the moonlit night. Somewhere out there, my wife was in the process of destroying our marriage, and I had no idea where the villains had gone to complete their unholy alliance. The hidden GPS tracker in Peggy's car was as useful as Lindsay Lohan's brain because they were in Randy's car. I cursed myself for not installing a GPS on Randy's car. Great job. I muttered to no one in particular as I walked to my rental car. Maybe I should have come dressed as Mike Hammer instead. At least then I'd have a gun to shoot myself with. Lost in the despair of the moment, my mind drifted back to that fateful day when I first learned of my beloved wife's unfaithful intentions. That day, while rummaging through the bedroom in search of a pair of clean socks, I accidentally overheard Peggy and Hannah gossiping outside in the garden. You wouldn't believe how big he is. Peg, Hannah said impatiently, and he could go on for ages. I tell you, he turned me into a quivering puddle of jelly. It was incredible. They both giggled loudly like a couple of idiots. I was just about to stick my head out the window and announce my presence with a loud boo when what Peggy said next stopped me in my tracks. You know, she sighed. I could really use some flirting like that. Being turned into a puddle sounds wonderful. But you have been. Don't you two do that as well? Of course, we have sex. Just not the mind-blowing kind you're describing. I mean, we've been married for 20 years for crying out loud. It's only natural that some of the passion fades over time. I love him dearly and can't imagine a better husband. But just once, I'd like to have an affair. Hannah blurted out. That's the solution. You need an affair, Peg. Not in this lifetime. Jesus Christ, Hannah. You know how jealous Ben is. He would divorce me on the spot. Maybe even shoot me. If he found out, maybe, Hannah replied. But who says he has to find out? You just need to make sure he doesn't, right? Peggy didn't respond for several seconds and I held on to hope. But then Hannah played her trump card. Granny wants you, Peg. He's asked me about you a couple of times. Really? Peggy said in a voice that was a little too eager. Really? He noticed you at the fair and asked me about you. Just say the word and I'll set up a date for you. Come on, Peg. Life is short. Have some fun. That was all I heard because two more of her friends showed up and they didn't seem to be on the madness. I quietly left the bedroom, my head filled with new thoughts and emotions. Peggy wanted to cheat? Am I Peggy? Well, I definitely wasn't going to stop her. Quite the opposite, in fact. In my view, the intention to cheat was already reason enough for a divorce. So the only person who could prevent Peggy from killing our marriage was Peggy herself. And I didn't want to live for many years under a cloud of distrust. So I decided to amplify the problem and give her the opportunity. In other words, I was going to give her enough rope to hang herself and then see what happened. Either she would remain faithful or she wouldn't. And if she didn't, I wanted to get proof as soon as possible. I'll spare you the trivial details of how I installed spy software on Peggy's phone and a GPS tracker in her car. Finally, as part of the setup, I made it clear to her that I wouldn't be able to attend the annual Halloween party this year due to an urgent business meeting out of town. The timing was a deliberate choice on my part. Halloween is the only time of the year when people have a legitimate reason to go out wearing someone else's persona, making it the perfect moment for secret meetings without resorting to hotel rooms or secluded places. As I expected, the two creatures saw this as an opportunity not to be missed and Peg planned to meet Randy at the needless to say. I was planning to secretly attend and catch them in the act. And that's why I was sitting in a rented car, dressed like Scary Karigi, without a single damn idea of what to do next. By setting a trap for my wife, I had essentially handed her over to Randy, wrapped up in a gift package and ready for use. He was probably having sex with her right at that moment. But always remember, Grasshopper, the true power of a shadow warrior doesn't lie in his deadly kung fu or his destructive weapons. It lies in his ability to think creatively and turn defeat into a crushing victory. And then it hit me, Peggy had an Achilles heel. Her phone. She might thwart my efforts by abandoning her car, but she wouldn't go anywhere without her precious phone. In that gadget, she keeps her life, her calendar, contacts, emails, social media, and much more. It was always on the nightstand when we had sex. It was with her in the bathroom when she used the toilet, and it was attached to her hand when we went jogging. Her little gadget might turn out to be my best ally. I started with the obvious. Called her. The phone rang, but there was no answer. Not that I expected anything. No one wants to be interrupted during illicit sex. But at least it confirmed that her phone was on, not off. Amazing. Clearly, the ninja gods were on my side. The second phase of my battle strategy involved pulling up the tracking page on my phone and activating the Find My Phone feature. A very handy service if you lose your phone or if you've lost your spouse but happen to know her code and password. Within a few minutes, I had a map showing her current location and the surrounding area. It was a place I knew well from childhood. Lover's Point, the perfect spot for lovers. I must say, this stallion looked like a very stylish guy. Filthy rich, but too cheap to even book a hotel room to destroy my marriage. Instead, he took Peggy to Lover's Point and was probably planning to have sex with her in the car like some teenager. Not that I was complaining, mind you. This certainly made my task much easier since I could catch my cheating wife in the act without breaking into a hotel or trespassing on private property. Just open the car door, snap a few pictures of Peggy riding him, and head straight to the lawyer. It was then that I suddenly remembered the third way I could use her phone. My installed spy app. I quickly called her again, this time adding the hash sign and the activation code. At first, I only heard ringing and clicks, but then voices began to come through the speaker. Peggy's and the Stallions. Oh God, Hannah wasn't exaggerating. You're huge, Randy, and it's all for you, sugar bun. Oh yeah, harder. Use your tongue. Yeah. I could taste the bile rising in my throat. Sugar bun? Did he just call my wife sugar bun? Oh, you taste so good, Randy. I smirked to myself. This was a crime punishable by death. The moans and muffled sounds made the blood of my warrior ancestors boil, but I had to keep listening. No, I was not spying on them. I was gathering information. Okay. Soon it became clear that the stallion felt it was time to change tactics. He noisily maneuvered his bulk into a position capable of torpedoing my marriage. But to my surprise, Peggy spoke as she had second thoughts. I don't think I can do this, she said in a trembling voice. I really can't. My spirits lifted a bit. Could she be regretting her betrayal? It wasn't too late. Sure, I still needed to punish the stallion, but maybe, just maybe, I could at least save my marriage. I've never had one this big before, she continued. I'm afraid I won't be able to take it. It might hurt. Oh well. So much for her hesitation being about her marriage or loyalty. After all, surprise, surprise. Don't worry, sugar bun. I promise to be gentle and take it slow. I heard the stallion whisper. I thought to myself, we'll take it slow while I subject your home wrecking behind to 1,000 excruciating ninja torture techniques. The next moment, my train of thought was derailed as Peggy screamed so loudly that it nearly blew out the speaker. Oh God. Oh Jesus. And that's how my marriage died. Not with the bang of a judge's gavel, but with a barrage of screams praising the Almighty and his friends. Ah damn men. Are you okay, sugar bun? Randy growled. Do you want me to stop? No, damn it. Don't you dare. I'm off almost. Oh my God. From the sound of the slaps, I could tell that the stallion had forgotten all about being gentle and slow, and Peggy was clearly loving every second of it. For the next 15 minutes, I was subjected to the soundtrack of Peggy Buford's transformation into jelly filled with more meaningless screams and oh God than I had heard in our entire marriage. Amazingly, they were still going full throttle when I finally spotted their car a few hundred meters ahead. I don't recall Peggy and I ever having anything like that. Neither did the stallion, because I heard him request something special. I want you to take it, sweetheart. I want you to take it all. Yes, Randy. Give it to me when you're ready. I want it every last drop. Let me taste, darling. Damn it. In all our years of marriage, she never did anything like this for me. Not even once. Peggy always avoided it, but here she was practically begging the stallion to let her take everything he had to give. Adulteress. Everyone has a breaking point, and I think I finally reached mine. I completely lost any semblance of my ninja coolness and slammed the accelerator to the floor. My rental car wasn't very powerful, so the speed barely exceeded 10 miles per hour when I rammed the stallion's car. But judging by the screams, it definitely caught the lovers by surprise. As an added bonus, the impact sent their car rolling down the slope until it was abruptly stopped by a large tree about 50 feet below. I disconnected the spy call on Peggy's phone and instead dialed 911. Operator, I'd like to report an accident. Yes, I crashed into a parked car and the impact sent it down the slope. I think someone might be inside. No, I can't go down. I've injured my leg. Please send someone. Yes, you guessed it. There was nothing wrong with my leg, but I wasn't about to go down the hill in the dark. Randy's ass could be kicked another time. I leaned back and waited for the paramedics to arrive. Few hours later, I found myself sitting in a small room at the hospital engaged in a staring contest with a police officer who had a sour expression. I really like your police costume, I said with fake praise. It looks almost real. Where did you get it? Walmart? At work, smartass, he growled. And you should notice the handcuffs and the cell phone that come with it. Keep acting like this and you might get to try them out. I shut up. Even a deadly and fearless shadow warrior needs to choose his battles wisely. Seriously, do you really expect me to believe that you had no idea your wife was having sex with her lover in the car when you just happened to hit it and send it down the hill? Put on my most sincere expression and repeated my story. As I said, I was looking for my wife, worried about her safety. I tracked her phone and I guess I got too distracted by the map while driving. I didn't see the car until it was too late. It was dark and unlit and you knew nothing about the lover? He sighed. Well, of course I knew. I replied with a smile. Peg and I have an open relationship. Keeps things fresh after so many years of marriage. You know? You wouldn't understand unless you've done it yourself, as they say. I gave him a conspiratorial wink. He frowned and closed his notebook. Not the kind that's a laptop, but a real honest-to-goodness paper Moleskine notebook. All right, Mr. Beaufort, that's all for now. Thank you for your cooperation and please don't leave town for the next few days. I may have further questions. I left the stimulating company of the law and went to the head nurse's office to inquire about the condition of my unfaithful wife and the stallion. At first, she wasn't very friendly. I really can't disclose information about my patients, Mr. Beaufort. Ben Beaufort, at your service. I pulled out my ID from one of my secret ninja pockets. I was in the same accident as my sister and her boyfriend. Please, I'm very worried and I need some information to calm our sick mother. We're a close-knit family, you see, and she's terribly upset. Oh, I understand. You're related to Margaret Beaufort, she said with a smile. Peggy, yes. Blonde. About 5'4", dressed as Catwoman. How is she? Can I see her? Of course, Mr. Beaufort. Your sister fortunately escaped physical harm but has suffered severe emotional trauma, which we are treating her for. She got splattered with blood from her fiancé, who was injured, and she seems to have a strong fear of blood. Right, I remarked. She's afraid of blood and she's also a vegetarian. The nurse sighed and made a note in her log. I'm so glad to hear my sister is okay. And what about the stall? Randolph? The nurse lowered her gaze. Unfortunately, Mr. Mueller wasn't so lucky. I'm afraid he's lost the tip of his what? The outside of his instrument. The guy lost part of himself? I exclaimed in shock. Yes, it seems that's the unfortunate truth. We believe your sister was being intimate with him when your car crashed into them, leading to a serious injury. The paramedics were unable to recover the missing tissue. She actually bit it off? In a manner of speaking, yes. I struggled to hold back my laughter, but the nurse mistook my expression for sorrow. Oh, don't despair, Mr. Beaufort. Your friend may no longer be able to reproduce in the traditional way, but that doesn't mean he can't become a father. There is nothing stopping you from manually extracting the material, which can then be used to clinically inseminate your sister. Oh God, this was too much. If I didn't laugh soon, I was going to have a brain hemorrhage. I did my best to apologize. Sorry, nurse. It's just too much. I need some fresh air. Please excuse me. I stammered and bolted for the door. No problem, Mr. Beaufort. I'm sorry about the bad news. I heard her say as I rushed through the lobby. Her words meant to comfort me. I barely made it outside and around the corner of the building before I burst into laughter. This was too good. All it cost me was a $400 deductible to fix the dance on the front of my rental car. 5 minutes later, I returned to the hospital and headed to Peggy's room, my eyes still swollen from laughing. She seemed to be asleep, but when I touched her hand, she immediately opened her eyes. Oh, Ben, she cried out and hugged me tightly. I'm so sorry, my love. I held her close for a while, stroking her hair. It's okay, I said softly. But what happened? I thought you were at the Halloween party tonight. I was, but I started feeling unwell and wanted to go home. So Randy offered to drive me. On the way, we got into a car accident. At Lover's Point? Yes. Randy had some business on the way, so we had to stop. I couldn't believe she was still sticking to the lie. How stupid does she think I am? We were married. For crying out loud? She should know me better than that. I decided to play along with her game for a bit. Don't worry about it, Peg. The only thing that matters is that you're okay. I should go and thank Randy for keeping you safe. He's being treated in the West Wing. He's much worse off than you. Peggy looked concerned and seemed to genuinely care about the stallion's well-being. Yeah, the marriage was definitely over. What are his injuries? She asked. Apparently he's now a head shorter, I chuckled. Peggy stared at me in horror. Not this head, silly. It's the other one. Somehow he tore off a part of her, and they couldn't find the missing part. She covered her mouth with her hands, and I continued, but I'm sure it will turn up somewhere within the next 24 hours. Don't you agree, sugar bun? I left Peggy alternating between hysterical crying and bouts of vomiting. I was disappointed in her. I really thought she was a devout vegetarian. On my way out, I stopped by Randy's room. He didn't look too good, which lifted my spirits even more. The entire lower half of his body was wrapped in bandages, and he was hooked up to several IVs and other scary hospital stuff. Hey, Randy. How's the head? Mr. Beaufort, he said with a faint smile. How can I help you? Let's cut the crap. Okay? The fact is, earlier this evening you were having sex with my wife. A gentleman never tells, he said with a smirk that would usually annoy the hell out of me. Listen, Randy. I get it. You were overwhelmed by hormones and lost your head. Could happen to anyone. I'm glad you understand, Mr. Beaufort, he said, looking a bit puzzled. Of course I understand, Randy, and I don't see any reason why this minor incident should create a problem between us. I can't disagree, Mr. Beaufort. Life's too short for us to keep butting heads over small things. I get that, but why do you keep mentioning the head? Oh crap. A Freudian slip. They didn't tell you? Tell me what? Your size. Apparently, Peg had already started attending to it when the accident happened, and well, she's always had really strong teeth. You're joking, man. Tell me you're joking. This isn't funny, seriously. Sorry? Randy. Looks like you lost a piece, but I've heard you had plenty of extra inches to spare. No, no, no. This can't be happening, he shouted, frantically grabbing at the bandages. Since Randy seemed preoccupied, I decided to leave. I'm heading home, Randy. Happy Halloween. On my way out, I bumped into the head nurse, who gave me a piercing look. I must ask you to refrain from visiting other patients, Mr. Beaufort. It seems you're having a negative influence on them. Perhaps it would be best if you left the premises immediately. We had to restrain your sister to calm her down. On impulse, I grabbed her by the head and pulled her close. I love hot chicks in uniform, I drawled, kissing her firmly and passionately. Afterward, she just stood there, her face flushed and her eyes wild. She looked like she was either about to say something or slap me. But at that moment, Randy started screaming at the top of his lungs. I guess he finally took off those bandages. As the nurses rushed into Randy's room with a set of syringes, I quietly slipped out the front door into the cold October night. So far, I had witnessed the destruction of my marriage, avenged my wounded pride, and humiliated the bad stallion. Not too shabby for a few hours' work. But the night was still young, I was still wearing my cool ninja costume, and I still had an unpaid bill to Hannah for facilitating my wife. Oh yes, and Halloween wasn't over yet. Oh, how the woods beckon. But the bell keeps ringing. On we go. And in the dark, when I sleep, I'll return to you. Robert Frost. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of Cheating Secrets. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.